Welcome to Sipping Success, the ultimate podcast for all things beverage and alcohol. We are here to quench your thirst for insights, analysis, and a splash of entertainment. Get ready to dive into the world of beverages with us. From the latest trends to in-depth discussions with industry leaders, we've got it all covered. Whether you're a connoisseur or a curious sipper, Sipping Success is your go-to guide. Join us as we uncork knowledge, raise a glass to innovation, and help you elevate your brand to new heights. So grab your favorite drink, sit back, and let's sip success together. Tune in to Sipping Success and drink in the wisdom. Cheers. This podcast is brought to you by Mushroom Media, the go-to digital media agency for all things marketing. From crafting captivating campaigns to decoding social media sorcery, Mushroom Media is here to empower your brand and help you scale. So whether you're brewing, distilling, or concocting the next big thing, Mushroom Media has a solution for you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Sipping Success. I'm your host, Casey Haakinson. And this week we have Mary Anna Ossa with us. She is the founder of Partners and Grapes Organic Wines. And Partners and Grapes is dedicated to crafting an exceptional collection of entirely organic and vegan wines, free from any added sugar or sulfates. Their wines beautifully blend Catalonia's cultural traditions and influences with a fresh and innovative approach, creating a unique and delicious experience. We're excited to have you here, and welcome to the podcast here, Mary Anna.
Thank you, Casey, for having me. I'm really excited as well.
Awesome. Well, we're very interested to know the origins of your wine, how you came up with everything, what was the inspiration. Before we get into that, though, would love to just know a little bit more about you personally, like your background, and then ultimately what led you to founding Partners and Grapes.
Yes, so I'm originally from Venezuela. I have Spanish roots, but I moved to the Carolinas about 25 years ago after I graduated college. And to be honest with you, just fell in love with the Carolinas and decided to stay and, got married here, have my 3 children here. And before I started Partners and Grapes, I was a stay-at-home mom for about 13 years. My background is in sales and marketing, but in a completely different industry. I worked for a home builder. I was into real estate and mortgages, but related to, wines and spirits. And again, once I had my first child, my husband and I made the decision that I wanted to stay at home, and he supported that. So I did. And it wasn't until 3 years ago that I was in Spain visiting my family that I sort of discovered organic wines. I always loved wine, but I couldn't drink any because after a glass or two, I would get this massive, massive headache. And in my case, because I have severe food allergies, it was my body reacting badly to sugar and added sulfites and some of the other 75 additives that the FDA allows winemakers to put into wine. So funny story, I was in Barcelona meeting with a good friend, and we went to this really nice wine bar, and she was like, let's have some wine. And I was like, girl, I can't, I will feel awful tomorrow. I can't do it. I'll have a cocktail or whatever. But she sort of twisted my arm. So we ended up having about 5 glasses of wine, which is a ton for me. And I thought, man, the next day I'm going to feel terrible tomorrow. But I didn't. And it was because we were drinking organic wine. So when I came back to the States, I knew I wasn't the only one with this problem, with this bad reaction to wine. So instead of trying to find shops that carry different organic wines, I decided to go back to Spain and create my own.
Okay, wow, that's interesting. So, I guess my follow-up to that. So talk to us about the actual wine itself. So you went back to Spain and created your own. So are you sourcing all the ingredients from Spain?
I worked in partnership with a very specific vineyard that's women-owned and family-owned, and they've been doing this for over 100 years, and they've been organic before being organic was a thing.
Mm.
Over 50 years of doing minimal intervention farming, biodynamics, just sustainable winemaking. And, right place at the right time, I was able to create this beautiful partnership where we do everything in there. And because of the USDA organic certification, we have to bottle and seal everything in Spain and then ship it to the US.
Okay. Very good. And then one thing that we'll do for everybody, we'll leave this in the show notes, and we'll get this kind of toward the end of the episode, but we'll make sure that people will know where to find you online and interact with your brand. But if you could, can you kind of take us through the different types of wine that you offer?
Yeah, our portfolio has currently 4 wines. We have a red blend, which is 85% Tempranillo and 15% Syrah, super silky, smooth, a young wine. A rosé is, a little bit different than your typical rosé because it's not sweet. It's more fruit forward with notes of strawberry and cherry. And it's 50% Tempranillo and 50% Garnacha. Our white is 100% Xarel·lo with an X, which is a grape native of Catalonia. You can't really find it anywhere else in Europe. It's very clean, very crisp, super light, easy to drink, delicate, has a little bit of minerality. And that's our white. And our latest wine, we just released it in the US about 2 weeks ago, is our organic Cava Reserva, which is 60% Parellada, 25% Macabeo, and 15% Xarel·lo. And it's aged for 24 months. And one of the most interesting facts about our Cava is that it's only 68 calories per glass and only 0.08 grams of sugar per glass.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so talk to us about the kind of the present day-to-day operation. Are you mainly selling in your local area, or how have you grown the brand?
Okay, so I live right on the border between Charlotte, North Carolina, and Fort Mill, South Carolina. So I'm right on the border. So we started in South Carolina with a very small operation in 3 towns in our very, very close to my house. And I started on my own, basically just going to retailers, trying to grow the brand. Once I reached about 15 accounts, I was approached by a distributor here in South Carolina, and they loved the idea, loved the wines, loved the concept and the story behind it. And I signed over distribution. Then through them, we expanded to Columbia and Greenville and Spartanburg and Aiken and all of these cities in South Carolina until we're pretty much covering the entire state. The next step was to cross the border to North Carolina. We found a distributor there as well, and we're expanding into, different towns. Then after that, we started our online store, and we ship to over 48 states in the country, which has been, a game changer. And ultimately, this year, we expanded into Georgia, and we are now covering about 80% of Georgia. I didn't know Georgia was as big as it is. So we're slowly, but on a definitely path of growth that we'll continue.
Yeah, and so we talked to a lot of people kind of that have started their own beverage brands, whether they be in liquor or wine, and a lot of them always have to say that, hey, I had to go for a while from store to store to grow it. And it sounds like you did that in the first stage where you grew that to 15 accounts, and then a distributor contacted you. So when you go to another state like Georgia, are you having to travel into Georgia quite often to help build up the brand, or is the distributor network that you're building, is that helping you?
I tell you, I am so lucky and fortunate that my distribution network, it's great. They're incredibly supportive. They believe in the brand. They believe in me. I work with Budweiser. They're my
Nice.
distributors. So
Okay.
they have built incredibly good relationships with retailers, and they provide excellent customer service. So that's how I connect with new distributors, through my current distribution company. So I offer training to their sales reps, and I spend what it's called a market day, where I go to Georgia, a specific town, and spend the entire day with the rep visiting accounts. Some accounts do want to meet me. And of course, whatever effort my distributor makes, I'll try to match it. So, I am very much involved in those operations as much as I am allowed in terms of traveling.
Okay, great. And then, so let's maybe kind of go to a different direction here. So you started the brand yourself, going over to Spain, and kind of walk us through that process. Like, what is maybe the biggest change that you've had to adapt to from where you started it to where you are now?
Um, I say this is something that I tell myself every day. Every day is a school day. So every
Uh,
day I'm out to learn something new. I knew nothing about how incredibly regulated alcohol is in the US.
mm,
So, the first challenge was, okay, how do I do this? So, research was the first 6 months of my time were spent doing research, federal permits and state permits and county permits. Then when you start dealing with organic, the USDA gets involved, the FDA gets involved, from your labels to your formula to lab analysis to your facility. Everything has to be inspected and make sure that it's really, really organic, because otherwise it will be false advertisement. So that was, I'm not going to say it was an obstacle, but it was definitely challenging because I knew nothing. However, I got to tell you, I was very humble in the way that I approach people. I call all these entities and will say, can you please walk me through this process? And nine times out of 10, they were willing to help me, and really, very supportive of a person who was really starting out from nothing. And yeah, I think from a legal standpoint, it's complex and it takes a long time and money, but it's definitely doable if you have that determination to keep going and not become discouraged.
yeah, and I'm curious to know this. We've had particularly recently on the podcast, we've had some startup whiskey brands here that we've interviewed, and they've obviously given us their story of kind of growing state by state. And the one of kind of some many common threads is having to deal with different kind of older laws in certain states that were put in place like a century ago or during Prohibition.
Yep, yeah,
Uh,
100%.
do you ever find yourself having to deal with just what you would call maybe archaic, just laws that
Every
uh,
day.
are tough? Okay.
Every day. In terms of loss, 100%. And not only that, but in other terms is, the wine industry, it's white male dominated. So when you have a woman, and a woman of color for that matter,
Mhm.
it's not very common. So it is not an easy industry to get into. And it is really easy to give up in the first 2 or 3 years because it's hard. But I think it's all about trying to build productive and in really positive partnerships where there is trust and support, and also, a lot of patience, because it takes time.
Did you ever hit a roadblock early on where you had a moment where you were ever maybe questioning whether you wanted to go forward or not?
Yes. I will say I hire a consultant because I knew, I mean, the wine was selling in a very small market. I didn't know how to scale. I didn't know how to grow.
Mhm.
And so I met with a consultant and showed him my plan, and he developed a strategy for me to grow, but it meant I had to put more capital into the company, more,
Mhm.
and it was for me it was a considerable amount of money that I had to put in, and I was terrified. I thought, do I have what it takes? There's always, imposter syndrome, inexperience, all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, I felt, even if I fail on this, I still went and did it. So I decided to keep going, and it paid off because the plant worked and we were able to scale it in a very smart way. But yeah, and I think every day, I mean, I had an issue with a distributor once, and they bought 400 cases of wine, and then when the time came to pay, they didn't have the money to pay.
Oh,
And it was heartbreaking because I spent about 4 months trying to build this relationship, and I was misled in many ways. And I ended up taking some of the product back. And even though I didn't necessarily lose money, those were 4 months that I could have been selling to someone else and working a different market.
yeah.
But like I said, every day is a school day. I learned something that day and I kept going.
Yeah. Great. Great. And so, how do you measure success for you right now? Because it sounds like, when every day is a school day, it sounds like every day is potentially different.
Yeah.
So I guess think of it from just kind of a broad perspective. How do you measure success for yourself?
Yeah, I think I measure it on three different levels.
Okay.
Customer satisfaction, personal satisfaction, and profitability, because at the end of the day, this is a business. So when it comes to consumer satisfaction is how's the feedback that I'm getting from people who try the wines? Always, and to be honest with you, it's 99.9% positive. And that other small percentage is just people who are, different palates and don't like it, which is perfectly fine. But for my customers, they love it and they become loyal. Then on a personal satisfaction is I love what I do. I'm passionate about it. Not only I love wine and I love my wines and what I'm creating, but I love the fact that I get to go to different events and meet different people in different towns, share my story and inspire other women who might have a dream as well and are afraid to go for it. I started this, Casey, at 43.
Oh,
Yeah. So, I had that voice in my head that said, what the hell do you know about running a wine company? And if I
mhm.
had listened to that voice, I would be missing out on what I'm doing today. And what I'm doing today is the dream I didn't know I had. And I'm having a ton of fun.
Well, that's fantastic. And so let's describe your business present day. Like, how big is your team? Talk about that and share with us about that for a second.
Yeah, very small. Until a few months, this was a one-woman show.
Okay.
But my husband, he has his own business as well, and I'm in a very privileged position where I get to utilize some of his team members to help me in many ways. Like
Oh,
he's
great.
an architect, but he also does graphic design. So his team of graphic designers, they do some of my web design, and some other marketing stuff that I need. They do that. His CFO, if I need something when it comes to, planning or expansion, I can talk to them. I have an incredible bookkeeper that's, also a woman. And, we work together on our growth plan for the year. I have a team of tasters, three incredible women that go to retailers to do the tastings.
Okay, great.
But I still oversee the day-to-day and do most of the work.
And that sounds like a great situation you're in. You're able to kind of share resources there. One question I had about tasting, just in knowing the industry, a lot that the ability to have tastings, really allows you to connect with your customers. How often do you have tastings in your area?
As much as I can. When you're and you know this, when you're a small new brand, in-store tastings are the way to go. That's where you
Yeah.
want to spend your marketing money. So we do it once a week, twice a week in different markets. Just to give
Okay.
you an example, next weekend I'm going to be in Evans, Georgia. We have two tastings there. Then on Saturday I'm going to be in Aiken, South Carolina. We have two tastings there. And on Sunday I'm going to be in the Columbia Wine Festival, and I'm going to be there all day. So yeah, I'm always looking for, more people to join the team as tasters, because it's key when they try the wines. And I've been lucky enough to find people who care and who engage customers, and that definitely makes a difference. And it shows in our sales. The results are positive.
Yeah, are you able, I got to imagine with a good taster, they can they can at least engage somebody to try to get their email address and try to grow like a newsletter or whatnot. Are you able to capture data and things of that nature?
Not on our tastings, because I find that to be a little invasive to ask for someone. So
Okay.
the point of the tasting is we want you to try the product. If you
Yeah.
like it, then we try to get you to buy it. And once you buy it, encourage you to buy it again. That's how, get repeat customers. Now, we collect emails when we do online sales, which is, or people visit our website, they have that opportunity. And that way they stay in touch with whatever activity, because we do a lot of events, not just in-store tastings, we do other stuff as well.
Awesome. Well, let's talk to you about this. How do you stay up to date on the latest trends and developments? It sounds like you're really busy in the day-to-day. Every day almost sounds very different. When do you have time to maybe take a breath and keep up with any sort of industry trends?
Yeah, well, I spend a lot of time in my car, so that's the best time to listen to podcasts, including Sipping Success. And there are a few, the business of drinking. There are a few podcasts that are really, really great and offer great resources. And I love hearing stories from other winemakers and startup companies and see what challenges they're facing. And there are so many resources out there, and they're even free. Wine Direct was doing a seminar yesterday that I was able to attend about how artificial intelligence can help you increase your sales online. So, the information is out there. You just have to make it a priority to look for it and stay up to date.
That's great. And for those of you listening out there, if you're just joining us, we've been talking with Mary Anna Ossa, founder of Partners in Grapes Organic Wines. It's been a very interesting conversation hearing her story, and really just almost like a very fast growth story. So just again, so people know where you're at, you're able to sell to 48 states online. And right now, as far as like brand presence goes, is the bulk of it in that southeast region of Georgia, North and South Carolina. Are you also from a retail perspective, are you open in any other states?
Not right now. My goal is to consolidate those markets. And once we have established presence, I want to expand and maybe grow into Florida or Tennessee. You gotta walk before you can run.
Yeah.
And I don't want to grow too fast. I want to be able to manage it all in a smart way, because I'm a wife and I'm a mother of three, and my children are my priority. I love what I do, but, so if I grow too fast, I might lose control of the whole operation.
Yeah, got it. That sounds very wise. And can you, we're getting down to our last couple questions. Can you, on this question, maybe, think about either your younger self, or let's say maybe a younger person is coming to you for advice on how to break into the industry. What sort of advice would you give?
Funny, that's a great question. The best advice I could give someone, not just in this, but in anything in life, is believe in yourself. I think when I started this, I probably believed in myself a little too much, but I looked at it and I thought, I can do this. But so if you believe in yourself, you really can. And I know it sounds super cliche, but you really can make it happen. But if you have, and self-doubt will be there, fear will be there. Learn to do it scared. I'm scared every day. I'm scared I'm going to lose all the money that I invested. I'm scared I'm going to get a bad review. I'm scared my children are going to resent me because I travel too much. So I'm learning to do it scared. And, when fear takes over, I try to make a list of things that I can actually accomplish. And action is the opposite of fear. Also, invest in people who invest in you. You'll meet, when you start a business, you're going to meet a ton of people, and everyone they want something from you, or they want to give you something. They have an agenda. Sometimes they don't. Stick with those who are there to support you, and invest in whatever it is that they're doing. So that will be my two pieces of advice: believe in yourself and invest in those who invest in you.
That's great. That's great. And then the last question we have for you, it's really kind of in two parts here. We want to make sure people can find you. So first part of the question is, can you share with us website, any social media platforms you're on, where people can interact with you and your brand?
Okay, we're everywhere. We are, our website is partnersingrapes.com. and that's
Okay.
what you can buy online. And, we're revamping the whole website. It should be ready in about a month. We are on LinkedIn as Partners and Wines. Partners and Grapes Organic Wines. We are on Instagram as Partners in Grapes. We are on Facebook as Partners in Grapes. We are on TikTok as Partners in Grapes. I think that about covers it.
That's great. That's great. And then last part of that question is, our listeners, a lot of them are professionals like yourself. Also, if they don't own a brand, they might be working in hospitality as well. And so if anybody has a question for you or maybe wants to partner, what's the best way to reach out to you?
If they're on social media, definitely LinkedIn or Instagram. And if they want to send an email, they can send it to contact@partnersandgrapes.com. My door is always open. If I can help someone by sharing a little bit of what I've learned, I'm all for it.
Okay, awesome. Well, we've been talking with Mary Anna Ossa, again, the founder of Partners in Grapes Organic Wines. So go ahead and check them out. It's a great story. And we're very excited that we were able to spend some time with you. So again, Mary Anna, thanks a ton for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Well, there you have it, folks. This has been another episode of the Sipping Success podcast. We've been speaking with Mary Anna Ossa, founder of Partners in Grapes Wine. And until next time, thank you very much.
And that's a wrap on another insightful episode of Sipping Success, brought to you by Mushroom Media. We hope our discussions have left you thirsting for more knowledge in the world of beverages and alcohol. Stay connected with us on social media for updates. And remember, the journey to success is best enjoyed one sip at a time. Keep exploring trends, connecting with leaders, and scaling your brand. Until our glasses meet again, cheers to your continued success. And may your cups always runneth over with inspiration. We'll catch you in the next episode.